dear friends, it's Gwen and I'm back today with another scrapbooking process video. Today's share is a back to school project. I'm using Pebbles Ink Lovely Moments and it is part of a Scraptember. I'm going to be working with 2 photos for this layout and I have gone ahead and pre-prepped my cut file. This one is called Stacked Bookshelf and it is from Cut to You. And yes, I'm working with not 1 but 2 photos for my page. Super inspired to document these photos of my daughter taken many years ago. I know that it's back to school season in America. I'm getting a lot of content about back to school and I thought why not join in. So I am going to start by backing the photos. I do not measure this. There is no measuring going on. I actually just position them on the pattern paper that I want to use and then trim it to size and then add the glue. And I found that that's the fastest way for me to do that. So that's how I do that. I'm also going to raise up just one of the photos on foam. They are going to be layered together. So the bottom one will sit obviously flat to the page and then the top one will be raised with that foam there. As I mentioned earlier, I am playing along with Scraptember and the theme for today's share is multi-photo. Be sure to check the description box below for some more details. So back to the layout, I have cut the cut file really large. I wanted it to fill the entire background of the page. This one did take a little while to back because each of the sections, so every book, I have done in a different pattern paper. This one would be an amazing cut file for using up your paper scraps. For the moment, it is just tacked in place because I'm not sure at this stage if I want to tuck some embellishments in behind it. So for now, I've just got enough adhesive on there for it to stay put. I'm going to lock in the position of the photos though. They are the next largest part of the design for the layout. I have already started thinking a lot about the flow of the page. I talk about flow a lot on my channel and this one is very clear to me that it needs to be left to right. I've mentioned it before, when you read, obviously we read left to right. So very naturally our eye will want to travel left to right. It is actually harder for us to look right to left. So I'm just going to go with that flow. The bookshelves in the background run across the width of the page. So to me, it just makes sense to keep with that flow. This collection did come with a pack of title elements. They're kind of like a puffy, thicker style. And I am going to mix and match a couple of them to make my title. The title was supposed to say, "You are my happy place," but I've just ditched the "you," so I'm just going with "my happy place." My daughter has been a bookworm her entire life. For as long as I can remember, she has loved just going to the library and spending time there, flipping through the books and obviously reading them. She is still a very avid reader. She has a job now and she still spends all of her money on books, not on clothes or shoes, but all on books. And I just love that. I'm also really loving that I can document these photos with that perspective. So quite often I am keen to document photos pretty much as soon as I take them. I've been very lucky. I've been a scrapbooker her whole life. And yeah, my thought was always like, take the photos and get them scrapbooked. But now that she's older, I have fewer photos to scrapbook because you just don't take as many when they get older. And I'm using this opportunity to go back and re-look at photos with a fresh new perspective. I have scrapbooked both of these photos in the past. And when I did, it was more along the lines of like an ordinary day, just a trip to the library. For this page, I want to talk a little bit more about her lifelong love of books. And this love I didn't even know about when I took these photos. I did have to do quite a lot of shuffling with my alphas in the title for this one. I wanted the word "my" to nestle in really closely to the happy. And then I also needed to allocate a little bit of space for an embellishment cluster in that bottom right-hand corner. So I didn't want the word place to be too close to the photo. The thickers are really easily repositioned, so that wasn't any problem at all. It just took a little bit of time and a little bit of fiddling. I am going to add a row of stitching across each of those words as well. I get the feeling that they're the kind of sticker that won't stay stuck forever, and my strategy for that is to sew it down. I am going to go with two main embellishment clusters. The larger one will be the one on the left at the top of the photo there, and then a smaller supporting one will be on the bottom right. I want it to be really obvious where the eye should start looking at the layout, and I'm hoping by adding a large embellishment cluster on the left that will really guide it to that point. And then from there, it will just naturally flow to the second photo and down towards the right-hand side of the layout. I really like to do a quick sweep through all of the ephemera pieces that I have. I like to make really quick decisions when I'm working this way. And I'm really looking at things that I can eliminate much more than I'm looking for things that I can use. If something stands out as definitely not usable, I will discard it straight away, because that limits my choices, and I work so much better when I have fewer choices. When I find something that could work, sometimes I'll audition it straight away, especially if something comes to my mind immediately, like a spot that it would go. But other times I will go, oh yes, that could work, and I just set it aside. As I create the layout, I just continue eliminating piece by piece, and then eventually I have no pieces left and the layout is done. It was at this point that I did run into a bit of a problem, but my solution were these epoxy buttons from Scrap and Happy Studio. I felt like the page was missing some dimension, and it felt a bit papery, which I know sounds ridiculous because it's a scrapbook layout, but I felt like it needed another texture. I like too that they're a round element. It was feeling a little bit blocky just because of all the hard lines of like the bookshelf and then the photos. Yeah, I had those florals there, but I just felt, that it needed something that was a little bit of a different shape. The colours were a perfect match, so much so that I actually couldn't decide between the pink and the yellow, and those two particular buttons get auditioned quite a lot around the page. It was at this point that I decided to add in an extra embellishment cluster, and it's going to go here on the left of the lower photo. I wasn't sure about the dead space that was there on the left of the photo, so I feel like this fills out that area really nicely. Things are getting serious because I am gluing stuff down. I really love how that little cluster fills out the space. I have also added in some 3D foam tape between the layers of the floral embellishments there. And you can also see now too that I've added in a couple of really sweet little birds. You might notice that both of the birds are looking in towards the center of the layout. I really like to position my embellishments this way. I like the subjects of my photo to be facing more in towards the center of the page, and the embellishments as well. It's not a rule, it's just something that I like. I also found a couple of banner pieces that had cute little sentiments on them. I felt at this point that a lot of the embellishments were really quite big, and I didn't have any smaller or medium-sized details, so I do like the inclusion of those. They also, being type sentiments, really help tell my story. Because I share so publicly, I like to keep my journaling private, so it goes onto the backs of my layouts. I will often add foam tape to these for extra dimension. I found this really sweet gold foiled butterfly, and I do audition it a little bit. I know I want it in that section around the words "my happy" because of the flow of the page, and it does end up staying on the left of the M there. I felt like it helped highlight the start of the title just being to the left of the M there, so it is going to nestle in right there. I now know that I am not going to be adding anything further underneath the cut file, so I am going to lift that up and secure it with a liquid adhesive. I do want to make sure that it stays nice and stuck down forever. And it's at this point that I just felt like it needed a little sprinkling of something. I found some smaller epoxy buttons, and I also pulled I want to call them enamel dots, and they kind of are enamel dots, but they're like a puffy enamel dot. They're more like a puffy sticker, but in an enamel dot shape. And the idea is to make a cluster of 3. I'll have 1 epoxy button and then 2 of the puffy enamel dots. And I'm going to repeat that for each of my embellishment clusters. I don't often share this part of my process because it is a little bit painful. I do audition them. I like to chop and change my mind. And if they run out of sticky, I just add a little bit of Nouveau Deluxe behind them once I know 100% where they're going to go. I will also do my absolute best to position them in a way that creates a visual triangle. I find that that's the best way to get the most balanced look to my page, and it's just a good rule to keep in mind. A little bit more securing down of the parts of the cut file that I haven't locked in place yet, and that's going to call the layout done. I do want to share with you some close-up images of the layout so that you can see all of the details. If you like the way that I scrapbook or the way that I chat about the way that I scrapbook, I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up. If you're looking for even more back to school inspiration, I do have this video right here that is sure to inspire. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, bye!